as usual, it is Tuesday evening, and I and Shalini are here to discuss a very interesting topic on patents, and it is how do we establish patent infringement. And I think the main reason to discuss this topic is to avoid patent infringement, and because whenever there is a patent infringement, the cost is levied on both the parties. It is expensive as well as it is time consuming, and yeah. So in order to avoid that scenario, let's understand when is patent infringement considered and in what scenarios patent infringement is not considered. So, Shalini, over to you for the opening remarks.
Hi, Priggya, and hello, viewers. I hope you're all having a wonderful Tuesday. And yes, patent infringement is an extremely important part of embarking on the patent journey because you don't want to start with infringing someone else's intellectual property, right? So, there are two ways in which we can prove patent infringement, and uh, and we'll come to that in a bit. But to prove patent infringement, you have to the infringement of a specific patent claim. So we have to take into account the claim. And to succeed, and there are, of course, there are elements on how to succeed on a patent infringement claim and so on. And like Prigya rightly said, it's an extremely expensive proposition if you're caught infringing. And so it's better to make sure that that is the reason we do a search um, before we start the patenting process. And how patent infringement is determined is a very interesting but complex process, and it ends up being a very lengthy and expensive legal proceeding. What we are here to tell you today is a bird's eye view of the different kinds of infringement. So, yeah, let's start.
Yeah, Shalini, and I think prior to getting into what and how to establish, we should mention that patent infringement can only be established for a granted patent. So if the patent is still in application stage, you cannot stop people from practicing your invention because there are chances that you may or may not get a patent. So patent infringement is can be established only for a granted patent and not uh, at the stage of patent application.
Correct.
Yeah, and Shalini, according to me, I think two important aspects of establishing patent infringement are one is literal infringement that we say claim to product mapping, and another is doctrine of equivalence where we say a same product is operated in a same manner to produce same result, and these are the two ways, and yes, we'll elaborate on both of them so that it becomes easier for everybody to understand, and we will avoid speaking in jargons which makes it difficult to
Yeah.
understand.
Okay. So we'll start with claim mapping.
Yeah.
How do we usually do claim mapping?
So, Shalini, according to me, firstly we begin with our independent claim because rest of the claim may or may not matter, but it is our independent claim which matters the most. So, for example, our independent claim has three elements, and there is a product which also has same three elements. Then we try to map elements of our claim with the features of the product, and if all the elements of our claim matches with the features of a product, we say we are able to map claim to product, and there is a literal infringement. Why? Because the product contains every element of the claim.
Correct. Perfect. Now, sometimes the infringer gets smart and decides that I will interchange elements, or instead of an existing element, I will use something else. So in that case, for example, instead of fastening with a screw and a nail, they may choose to glue it or use some other method of fastening. So in that case, and if that is a part, an element of the main claim, independent claim, then instead of literal infringement, we are using an equivalent um, product or equivalent element to do the same, perform the same task or substantially the same task in substantially the same manner to achieve substantially similar results. And that is called doctrine of equivalence.
Perfect.
So, doctrine of equivalence is not a coded thing, but it is found, it has evolved through courts' judgment.
Absolutely.
And my LLB thesis was on doctrine of equivalence.
Wow. That's interesting. Writing so much on doctrine of equivalence. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think there would be so much to write, but it was a very interesting topic, and I'm very proud of the research.
So yeah, I think mostly we covered the elements very well in terms of doctrine of equivalence and claim to product mapping. And yes, it is important to, I think the most important element still for patent infringement is the independent claim. And we have to keep that in focus. And let's, because we were speaking about, before going to the court we need to establish infringement. At least we should be sure that infringement is happening, then only we'll go to the courts. So for that we do claim to product mapping, and we prepare a search report called an infringement search report, right?
Right.
And we have infringement charts in that search report. So, Shalini, would you like to elaborate something on infringement search, and what are the main elements, or how, what all things we should consider while doing an infringement search?
When I'm doing an infringement search, I start with a claim. I always start with a claim, and I break it down into clauses and subclauses. So I don't know how you do it, but for me, it clarifies. It sets out the process, what I'm thinking, what I'm supposed to be looking for. And then each of those clauses I look for, or subclauses I look for in the infringing product. And if I have claims for the infringing product, then I list those two side by side in similar subclauses. And then I have to, kind of differentiate between columns, and I'm analyzing them subclause by subclause, and then I do a red, green, depending on whether it's yes or no. And at the end of that exercise, it's very clear whether there is an infringement or not.
Correct.
So, I'm curious, do you have a similar method or do you use some other method?
Yeah, I think it's almost similar, because it is very, very important. I think the method you explained is almost similar to what we use. And it is very important. Why? Because we need to check each and every element of our claim. If we miss one element and that is not there in the product, then there is no infringement. So it is very important the way we are drafting our independent claim.
Yeah,
We cannot make it too broad, we cannot make it too narrow. By making it broad and narrow means, if it is broad, we'll not get any protection, and if it
correct,
is narrow, people would be able to go through the invention very, very easily, and infringement will not be established. So there has to be a balance between the claim, and the independent claim has to be, in the borderline where it's not too narrow, not too broad, and it has perfect number of elements, and those elements are product present in certain product. Then we say that, okay, because the elements of independent claim, my independent claim, are there in that product, it is a patent infringement.
perfect. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are
Yeah,
audible,
okay.
Charlie.
Yeah, so and what this exercise also helps with is that if we have finished writing all the elements of our main of the original claim, and we have written out everything for the product, and there is still some more features of the product that don't have a matching um, counterpart in the original claim, then we know that we are not infringing. We have additional features that are inventive, that are novel. And this also helps us decide if it's literal or if it's infringement under doctrine of
Correct.
equivalence.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think we covered most of the aspects of what you needed to cover in infringement. Do you have anything else to share, Shalini?
Yeah, I would like to add that in India, doctrine of equivalence is not as evolved as it is in the
Correct.
West. So there is not a strong case law or series of judgments which elucidate or explain what doctrine of equivalence actually is. So we still look to the West, to the US mostly. It's not evolved in Europe either, to the extent that it is evolved in the US. So we are still waiting for that kind of those kind of judgments.
Correct.
But literal infringement, yes, I think the courts decide in a very informed and um, educated manner on how whether infringement is occurred or not. Literal infringement is occurred.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, US is the hub of patent infringement,
Yes,
where we have multiple, like we have so many case laws, and doctrine of equivalence was also developed there. So yeah, we are yet to see it taken up by other jurisdictions and established by other jurisdictions as well. But I
yeah,
think there is no doubt that other jurisdictions will also accept this
mm,
as a tool for judging patent infringement.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I think if you have so yes, you can do it before you start if you have a prototype ready. You can also do it in the middle of your process, and there's no right time for conducting an infringement analysis.
correct. Still, I think the case law, like you can go into sending legal notices and getting into the courts only after patent is
Yeah, of course.
granted and
Of
not
course.
before that. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's all for today. And next week we'll come up with something interesting again, and we'll be seeing you.
Next week, you want to announce about your
So next week I am traveling to Inter. Probably I'll just come from. I'll be there from Inta and say hi to everybody. Or if I'm not there, Shalini will take this up and say hi on my behalf too. So let's see what is the scenario next Tuesday, and we'll do accordingly.
if Priggya is not there, I'll let you in on some secrets.
Yeah. Probably I'll get to know them after I watch your live.
I'm
Yeah.
kidding. Priggya, all the best for your Inta trip, and we
Thank
look
you.
forward to your learnings from there.
Thank you so much, Shalini. Hope to see you all very soon again. Take care. Bye bye. Have a good evening.